up, you guys? I don't usually make foraging videos, but I'm going to make an exception with this one because it's one of my favorite spring edibles. It's called the Spring Beauty. It's one of the first flowers out in the spring. It's just got me excited, and I don't usually make the videos because I don't want anyone watching my videos and going out and wrongly identifying a wild edible and that coming back to me. But luckily the Spring Beauty is super easy to identify. There's not very many lookalikes that have the tuber that looks like it, and they're pretty plentiful. But before I show you how to identify them and prepare them, I do want to add that these are beautiful. These are literally wildflowers with edible, the whole upper portion is edible, above ground is edible, and the whole tuber portion is edible. But these are some of the most beautiful flowers, and in areas that they're not so abundant, you should not be harvesting them just to harvest them, because they are slow to recover. When you harvest the tuber, you're harvesting that whole reproductive system of the plant, so that plant's never going to come back. Thankfully here, I've got hundreds of thousands of them, and they're abundant. So every year I pick 50 to 100 of them, and that's how it goes. But don't go harvesting all of your stock, you know? Just keep that in mind when you go out there, because these things are beautiful. So I kind of unleafed a portion of the ground here to show you what it really looks like coming out of the ground. And you can see some up here that still got the leaves over them, but you can see these flowers. They're these beautiful pink to white flowers. You know, up here in Peoria, they're kind of pink, and down in southern Illinois, I find a lot more white ones. But they've got these florets of 5 petals, and these aren't open yet, but there's quite a few that are open. But you can see here we've got Dutchman's breeches. There's trillium around. The mayflowers are out. Here we've got bloodroot. Beautiful spring flower. Hasn't flowered yet. Here's another great example of bloodroot. Check that out. So this is a pretty extraordinary big group of Spring Beauty. It's got probably 3 or 4 different tubers attached. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of the ground, show you what the tuber and everything looks like, and what kind of the method of how I do it. So it don't take anything special to harvest the Spring Beauty. I literally use a fork. I found that the fork is one of the best ways to do it. I mean, you can use a small garden shovel. So you definitely don't want to use a big shovel because you're just going to be removing way too much dirt. But when you find a big group like this, most of the time the tuber is going to be right there in the middle. Say if they were more spaced out around, the tuber is usually going to be somewhere in the middle, about 2 inches under the soil. Here I'm on this slope where this mid slope where the soil is kind of loamy, and it's really nice to harvest these. So if I was to just rip these off, I'd lose the tuber completely. So I'm just going to kind of lift up some around it, slowly work it up, and make sure I've got the tuber with it. Looks like I do. And then you can feel around, rip off some, and there it is. And that's a pretty big one. That's nice. You know, that's the size of a nickel. Usually they're about the size of a dime. But this is what the whole plant looks like. 5 petals on each flower, pink or white, and a big, almost potato-looking root with a brown shell on it. And I'll include some pictures once I actually get them home and wash them off. So I'm just going to take this off because this is all I'm going to keep right now. But these these are perfectly good to eat. Any part, if you can eat the flower if you want, you can eat the leaves. I usually keep a few leaves. It's kind of tastes like miner's lettuce a little bit, and they're pretty good. Now the tuber here is really good to eat just plain. It's kind of starchy when you have the skin on it, eating it plain, but I do it all the time. But I'm actually going to prepare these kind of like scalloped potatoes with the deer roast this time. And I'm planning on harvesting probably 30 or 40 of them, which takes a while, but it's doable. And, you know, it's all labor of love. I love doing this shit, and it's just awesome to be able to get this stuff out of the ground. I mean, this stuff grows out here for free. It's awesome. You know, I feel connected to the earth when I eat this stuff. I can't explain it. You just gotta try it. So here's a close-up of the whole deal. Here's the little tuber. You want some, Brew? Here's the little tuber, the whole stem shoot here, these elongated leaves I'm talking about, and the flower. You do want some. Maybe later. So I've been foraging for about 20 minutes. Got me a nice little baggie full, probably, I don't know, 15 or 30. I was gonna pick a lot more, but you know, it's what it is sometimes. One thing I forgot to mention though is the time of harvest. The springtime, actually, when they have these nice flowers, is not the best time to harvest them because they've been sending all their nutrients out of their root system, so out of the tuber that you're eating, to produce the flower. So the best time to harvest them actually is in the fall and the winter, and even in the summer after they have flowered and sent some of their energy store back down into the root system. But how are you gonna find them at that point, you know? If you know where there's a pretty good crop at, you can kind of mark some spots out and come back to it in the early summer when you still see the leaves they're just low lying, they're just kind of bottom dwellers. But they're hard to pick through once all this other shit starts growing up. But you can still find them, they're just a little bit harder to identify. But that's when they have the most nutrients, and they're not going to be way bigger by any means, but I think they're going to be a little bit more filling and maybe a little bit more tasty. But I like them just how they are right now. I've even got a bunch of flowers in the bag because I'm going to put them in some tea tomorrow, and I'll probably might garnish some greens onto my deer roast supper tonight, so we'll see. There's so much you can utilize out here in the woods if you just know what you're looking for. I love these.